In this snowboard tutorial, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to wax your board. So I'm ready to wax my board. That's how I get this Scotch brite pad that comes out, as I like to make sure I've got any extra little dirt particle, extra ptex, anything on there. I want that off my board and not into my base. So I've been doing a lot of work on my base, so I'm just gonna wipe it off with this. You can use base cleaner too. Base cleaners if you've been riding out on really dirty snow and getting a lot of dirt. Something that's natural that can absorb that dirt, get it out. You don't want something that's like a harsh chemical, something that's all natural. If you do a dab, my iron is nice and warm. It's not smoking up. It's right at that temperature. I've marked it on my iron. It says wax. That's where I put it. That's not my temperature right there. See that? Good. Okay, so we've got a little bit of wax here, and I'm just gonna do it by section. So I used to like to do my whole board all at once, but I felt like that I worked in the wax a little bit more when I was just doing little 1.5 foot sections. So if it's not melting on your iron, then you need to turn up your heat. So I like to sometimes when I'm putting it on, instead of just doing melting it and doing drops, I sometimes just like to just kind of put it right on there, and then it's a nice thin layer, and it's not a little like a water droplet. It's flatter onto your base, and I think that actually helps me to put it in better. So instead of doing little drops, I just put my iron just right close to the board, or even touching the board. And that way the wax isn't so, like a water drop is more like that, but it's flatter. And I want to make sure that I'm putting the wax in from tail to tip. I don't want to be going like that, because I was talking to you about those grooves that are inside or on the base of your board. These little grooves that are in there that absorb, they go from tail to tip. It's kind of like thinking of when you're laying wood. Like the grain of the wood, it goes all in one direction. So if you were doing a hardwood floor, or making a door or something, putting the pieces of wood together, they would go the same direction. The grain would all go the same way, and that just makes it stronger. So we want to do that with our board as well. We want to make sure that the wax we put on is in this direction, tail to tip, tail to tip, tail to tip. Not little circles, with fore and aft, back and forth, back and forth. So there's my first section. It's nice and in there. Get it right here. I'm not gonna do the drops because it's like that. I want to be a little bit more, like I said, put your iron just right next to the border on it, just like that. And that way it really to get in to the board a lot easier, that wax, just like that. Now, I don't need to use too much wax too, so just enough to cover your base. Some waxes that you can purchase are really expensive. Some of them are affordable. And if you're buying a piece of wax that's like $100, you do not want to waste it by putting too much wax on your board. But there, also, you do not want to put too little wax. You want to make sure you get every little piece, every square inch. So if I haven't got it, and then I know that sometimes when I'm around my bindings, it creates flat spots a little bit, and it's harder to get to that right in the center of the board right there, because the bindings, they kind of suction cup a little bit and create a flat spot there. So make sure you're getting right underneath your bindings really good. You want the board to be staying warm too. Even after I wax my board, I sometimes like to put it where it's by the fire, somewhere warm, by a heat vent where the wax continues to just melt and absorb into it. After you wax your board, you don't want to take it right outside if you can, because it's not absorbed. The wax is still melting into there. Or just to set it off, I like to do it the day before and then have it all ready to go the next day. Just do a little squiggly that way. I get a little bit more area. Pretty much all done. I like to get my tip and tail, so that protects that too. This board's a little bit older. You know, it's got a little bit of cracking towards the sides, but really what this does is prolongs the life of your board. You know, having this extra little bit of wax, it's meant to absorb, and you know, in the off season, when your board's just sitting out in the shed or sitting somewhere, it's not absorbing dust. It's like a protective layer almost. It's like you would saran wrap it. I recommend anytime that you're putting your board away for the season, you wax it. Give a good coat of wax before you put it away for the season. On about every 3 to 4 days, I like to put some more wax on there. The sides are the most important. That's where you want to have the most wax, is on the sides, because that's where you get the most wax burn, is right there on the edges. That's where you turn, and that's what's touching the snow. So those are going to actually get more of the waxes taken away. So usually when I see a board that hasn't been waxed for a while, really dry on the edges. Make sure you work everything in there. Put some power into it too. That way you can really work that into your base. Just like I was saying when I was repairing my board, I wanted to put some heat and pressure into it. So put some elbow grease into it, and after you've waxed your whole board, you can let it sit, take it right in and leave it in the warm. And then you can either just take it out the next day and ride it right on snow, and the snow will scrape it, or you can get out a wax scraper and scrape it on after that. So what I'll do is I'll finish up here, and then I'm going to show you how I just scrape the wax off. I'm going to let it sit and have the wax absorb, and in a few hours I'll come back out and show you guys what I'm going to do to scrape it off. A wax company I like is Dekine. They also sell other snowboard products, but it's a reliable company and their wax is really good. I've already waxed the board and I'm ready to scrape it off. So I just like to run it down with the pad really just lightly at first, right like that. If I see anything really big, or if I see a dry spot, maybe I can work it in a little bit. Again, tail to tip to tail, guys. I don't want to be doing circles. We want to get into the same grooves where the snowboard is. So we want to get into those grooves. We go back and forth just like this. And I also like to have like a little rag too when I'm ever waxing my board. And then I'm gonna get my scraper out and I'm gonna start just kind of scraping. You can see that excess wax is coming off, and I like to just go in sections again. Kind of like how I wax it, go in sections. When you start waxing this, you remember, you want to let this sit. Be patient, let it set for a few hours. I would recommend at least a few hours overnight if you can. And then I have a little place, a little container right here to put my excess wax. So I had some buddies that they created an oven that held like 40 boards. And the temperature, I think it was somewhere like 120, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. It wasn't too hot to damage the boards, but it was just right there at that perfect temperature where the wax was constantly just melting into the base of the board. So that gave it a really, really super soaked up, thirsty boards. So you can kind of think of it as your boards are thirsty. You know, if they're dry, you can tell there's a little bit a fainter color. Like if your base is a dark color, you can really see it like on dark blue or black baseboards. When there's no wax, it's like almost turning white, and then they're still darker. It's because it's thirsty. Your board is designed and meant to absorb. So if you don't have wax on the base, it's gonna absorb something else. Like all the dirt out there and all the oil from the snowmobiles and the snowcats and the groomers. Like if I'm in a race, if I'm gonna compete, I usually won't scrape my board till I actually get up and start going on the mountain, and then right before my race, that's when I'll scrape it so I have that extra wax, and then I'll put usually another layer of wax, liquid wax or the hydrofluorocarbon, something that makes you go super fast if you're racing. But yeah, I don't usually want to ride too much if I'm in a race because the wax is going to start coming off. But like I've said, boards wax usually last for about 3 to 4 days. But if you're in a race, I'd probably scrape it off and re-wax it every day. So I'd scrape it and then I'd put a little bit extra, a layer to go even faster for that one run. There's waxes that go on there they're only good for one run, but they make you go fast. And they're expensive. So if you do get into racing, there's a lot of technology to it. There's a lot of maintenance with your equipment and putting the right products and the right waxes on. If I'm really racing, I'm gonna go find out what the temperature of the snow is. Do I put on a cold wax, a medium all temperature wax, or a warm wax? So once you start getting into waxing and racing, those are important things that you want to know. Then I use this at the end, just make everything nice and smooth. After I've done the scrape, get all the excess off, like that. And then even get my rag back out here and make sure that I've got all this excess. You can see it just coming up there. And where my board's base is nice and smooth, and I take care of my baby. So I just taught you how to wax your board and maintain your board. I had another video where we repaired the board from core shots and going out early season up in Alta and hitting some rocks. But yeah, so maintain and take care of your product, take care of your board so they last longer, and hope to see you out on the mountain.
This is just one of the many snowboard tutorials that we have. Sign up for the full course at glowingfreeride.com. Like, subscribe, and comment. Cheers, FFR.